بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد.
All right, then we are going to be talking about loans, taking loans and borrowing money, and what are the rules regarding that. First of all, unfortunately today, there is no trust. People do not trust each other. And that's why, unfortunately, again, people go to banks and sometimes deal with interest, which is, of course, not an excuse. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives someone money and he's rich, when he helps others, especially according to the correct Islamic rulings, he gets reward for that. The Prophet ﷺ says any Muslim gives a loan to another Muslim 2 times, he gets that amount as sadaqah, meaning I gave you a loan and then you ask me again, of course you returned it to me, and then you ask me again and I give it to you. The second time, Allah will give me the same reward as sadaqah, as charity, even though it's going to come back to me. He has to pay it back to me, but it will count for me as sadaqah, charity. So there are many hadith that do encourage us to help one another, so people do not have to go somewhere else. Unfortunately, the wealthy people do not really help in that regard. And again, we can't blame them too much because, again, trust is not there. But there are certain conditions about the loan. I think those are important for us to know for the loan to be Islamically correct. Number one, and this is important, you cannot take advantage of it. In other words, if I give somebody a loan, I can't say, well, I want you to do this work for me, or I want you to do that for me. So he feels like he has to do it. I'm not paying him for that work just because I give. Basically, you can't take advantage of that person who is taking money from you as a loan. And especially if this was not part of the deal. I'm giving you some money to help you out, and you will give it back to me after a certain time. I can't take advantage of your situation and make you do things for me, or say, well, I'm gonna borrow your car, do whatever I want because you owe me money. That's not right. You can't do that. The second thing, of course, you cannot ask for your money back with an increase because that is riba. That is the interest we're talking about. Can't give somebody $1,000 and tell them give it back to me as 2,000 or whatever. This is riba, and that's not allowed either. What if the one who took the loan wanted to give it back more than the actual, just like he feels like it? Like I gave somebody $1,000 as a loan, and then he says, you know what, you helped me out and I am really grateful. I'm going to give you $1,100 as a gift from me. That is allowed. That's not interest. And so that is basically, it's just out of courtesy. The person who took the loan, he wants to return it even more than the actual amount. That is allowed.
And the lender can also let the money.
Yeah, you can forgive. You can even forgive the whole thing if you want. But if you want to say, you know what, you don't have to give me the whole thing, or you can give me half, you get reward for that, of course. And as we know, loans from the banks, those are always, I don't know any bank that will give you any money without interest, even the Muslim one. So, Allahul Musta'an. So that is about loans. Any question before we move on, inshallah?
You can, if a person is quite rich, he can give his zakat money to the needy person, and instead of giving it as a loan, he can just give him in his own mind, I'm giving zakat, but as a gift.
You can do that. Yeah, if you want to do that, you can. If you want to give, of course, I mean, originally, if you want to give your zakat to somebody that is needy, that if everybody does the zakah and sadaqah according to the rules of Islam, nobody will need a loan to begin with. Yani normally, in normal situations. But the problem is those people who are needy, they are the result of people who do not give their zakah and their sadaqah. Because, I mean, imagine if somebody who has, yani, mashallah, 10, $20 million, his zakah is a big amount that can help a lot of people. But again, when people do not give zakah, then we have a problem because of that.
Is leasing cars halal? They charge interest on the lease also to finance the depreciation.
I mean, interest is still going to be interest, so it's not allowed as far as I know. Leasing is not allowed unless if it was not with interest. So that's fine. But with interest, of course, leasing is not allowed. Yeah. But you can ask for a money ahead of time for depreciation. Or like you say, you know, this is the car I'm going to be leasing to you, and you are taking it over many years. Ahead of time, this is an amount I want because of that the depreciation. It's not going to be a percentage. It's going to be a fixed amount, and it's agreed upon before as a part of the contract. That's a different thing. Next chapter is talking about al-Wakala. Wakala is, how do you translate that? Collateral, like when I appoint someone to have authority or access to my assets, to whatever I own. This is called a wakala. Like you are my wakil, you're my guarantor, you're the one who you have basically my permission to buy and sell and do whatever you want with my property.
Power of attorney?
Power of attorney, yes. I guess that's a good translation. Power of attorney. Of course, in Islam, it is allowed, and there are, of course, always conditions for that. Any kind of deal or treatment, contract, is included in that. Even not only buying and selling, but even divorce. Even in terms of the divorce. So you tell your wakil to divorce your wife for you. That will be strange, but it's because marriage is a contract. So you can do that. But there is no wakala for ibadat. Like I'll say, go pray Isha for me, please. You are my wakil. That will be very nice. Yeah, or go do zakah. Yeah, this is something I have to do myself. I can give them the money. Yeah. But this zakah is a ibadah. So it has to be done with me, by me. Yeah. I can give it to somebody who will give it to somebody. Yeah. But I have to do because this is ibadah. Yeah. Okay. Next will be an important, very important chapter, which is al-Hajr or al-Hajr. Al-Hajr. Al-Hajr, which is isolation. There is an English word for it. When you basically take the rights from a person to use his money, for example, or to travel, or what's the English word for that? When you basically put limitations on person's movement or his ability to use his money, even though it's his money. Oh, maybe something like quarantine, I would say. Quarantine. Quarantine, it's when it's medical.
Yeah.
When it's medical, that's called quarantine. When you force somebody, house arrest. You don't have to be in the house.
Probation.
It doesn't probation, maybe probation. Yeah. maybe probation. I don't know. Basically, when you put limitations on a person because of a reason, this is called Hajr. And when we explain it, I think it becomes clear, inshallah. It has two situations or two kind of isolation or Hajr. Number one, when you do it for the best interest of the person. What does that mean? So let's say we have a young young man, who has money, and he's spending his money in the wrong way. He's buying drugs, buying whatever it is. So we can, for his interest, for his best interest, somebody will be normally his father, his guardian, or uncle, or somebody who is trustworthy, will take that money away from him, and he will have no access to this money until he proves that he knows how to use it. So this is doing Hajr, doing this kind of isolation thing, probation, whatever it is, confiscation. Well, no, you don't you're confiscating the money, but what about him? Yani, until this is for his own best interest. Or sometimes we do this because of the people. And this includes, يعني alhamdulillah الذي عافانا, congenital or contagious diseases, or somebody who has debt, like Sister Joanna asked, somebody who owes money to people. They can ask the court to prevent him from travel, so he does not run away somewhere. So this is for somebody else's best interest.
So basically putting a lien on the money, right?
Yeah, in that situation.
Restriction.
Restriction order, or but I heard there was the word, I can't remember. Maybe restriction, anyway.
Yeah.
We understand.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Yeah.
You can do somebody a credit card and say, okay, once you spend more than 500, you have to get authority from me. Otherwise,
Yeah, you can do that. You can put like limitation. Alaykum salam. You can put limitation on the amount he can spend. Now, so again, another situation will be an orphan or some child who inherited money. At this age, he does not know how to use it. So, yani, we can't give it to him until he gets older. So this is another situation. When do we give back the money to those children? Either by getting older, or something called the rushd. Basically, sometimes those children, they're still young, but Allah gives them wisdom. Yani. So they prove that they are worthy. They know how things are working, and yani. So we test them. We give them a small amount, and we see what they do with it. And if they're doing good, we can give them their money. Another reason, of course, is insanity. Someone who, yani, alhamdulillah, الذي عافانا, loses his mind because if somebody is insane, he can hurt himself or hurt others. So that, again, al-Hajr, or the restraining order or restriction, is important in this situation. And normally, as we said, the guardian is the one who takes care of that situation. Now, if somebody is under debt, he owns money, and he's not known for being not trustworthy, or he's not known that he took people's money. In other words, you cannot prevent everyone who is under debt from traveling. There are some rules here. For example, somebody who did not pay on time, and there are a lot of payments he missed, so this person, you can prevent them from travel. Or someone who owes a lot of money to many different people. Certain situations, but not every person who owes money will prevent them from traveling. Another thing is, if a person cannot, he owes money and he does not have it, he cannot pay it back, and he promises to pay it back, that's another thing when we do not do that restraining, unless he has the money and he does not want to give it. So that's another situation. And these are some specific situations. We can skip them. not very important, inshallah. Next topic will be important, al-ujrah, payment or salary. This is very important actually, because I myself got in trouble recently because of not following these rules. Ujra is to give somebody an amount of money as a compensation for their work. You hire somebody to work for you, and you give him money for that work. So there are certain things that you should do, because again, if you don't do these things, you can get yourself in trouble. A situation happened to me. I hired a brother from the masjid to do some work for me in the yard to fix something. I know he worked hard for 2 or 3 days, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't do the job. So what do I do in this situation? He couldn't do the job, but he worked, he tried. Do I pay him or do I not pay him? If I pay him, I still have to hire somebody else because he could not do the job. But if I don't pay him,
Pay him some.
Should not pay him because he didn't do the job.
but he worked hard. I saw him
They
working
worked
hard
hard,
under
but
the sun.
that's his mistake.
I gave him a small tip, but he got upset. He wasn't happy. I gave him a small amount. I said, well, this is for your work, but you couldn't do it. I need to get somebody else because you couldn't do it. But if we follow these rules, before you hire somebody, you follow these things. How long you need to do the job? That should be decided. The time. How much I'm going to pay you? You can't just leave it in the air. That will solve a lot of problems. What happens in case you couldn't complete the job? So all these things, we should discuss these before, because after the work is done, there's nothing you can do. So that's why Islam is beautiful. When it protects us from getting in trouble with each other, and in the end we start hating each other and getting upset with each other when we follow these rules. Well, most of us are not professional, but so that's the problem. Well, that's Islamic. That's correct, but not everybody has it. Yeah, these are good. These are good. But we are kind of like, I trust you. You're from the masjid. You're my brother. We're not going to have a problem. Every time you say this, a problem happens. So that's why it's better to follow these things, Yani. Here are the conditions for this. Number one, the money has to be agreed upon even before work is done or before the work is started. This is how much I'm going to pay you.